spending years, more than 20 years, working with business and IT teams and helping them to build consensus and get their projects moving forward through some really simple techniques that I'm going to show you today. And one of the challenges that you may have with this webinar is that some of the things I'm going to show you are so simple that you will actually probably not believe that they really work. Okay, but I always believe that simple is better. And I want this to be a very interactive webinar. I want to field your questions. I want to have a dialogue with you. And I just want to know what's on your mind. So first, let me start by going through some of the objectives. In this webinar, you're going to learn simple yet effective meeting facilitation techniques that you can use to get your projects back on track. Now, this implies that you are willing to facilitate some meetings to get your projects back on track, right? This is all about using meetings and the best way to use meetings to get your projects back on track. And we'll talk more about that as we go. Item number 2, I'm going to show you how I use a very common waterfall methodology as a roadmap that can help you determine where you are in your project, and then how you can use that roadmap to determine which meetings you should use and how you should set up your agendas to get things moving forward and to get that consensus to get your project moving forward. And then number 3, while the emphasis of this work is on the waterfall methodology, a lot of the techniques I'm going to show you today can be used in almost any meeting, even if it's a non-project meeting, if it's a status meeting, if it's an agile stand-up meeting. A lot of the techniques I'm going to show you today can really be used in any meeting. And then again, the methodology is so simple that I'm going to repeat it over and over. And the reason I want to do that is to help have it really sink in. That is a really simple approach that can work. Now, I mentioned that I want this to be interactive. Let me talk about one of the things that will not be in scope today. First of all, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on PMBOK definitions and terminology, right? So I don't want to get into a debate whether it's a methodology or a process or a framework. That's not what this is all about. So if I say something that doesn't 100% aligned with PMBOK, I ask your forgiveness in advance. I know that I'm going to do it. I know we're going to have some challenges there, but just bear with me. And so number 2, this is not a debate on the best methodology, right? I don't want this to turn into an agile versus waterfall or iterative. I want to show you some techniques that you can use in any of those methodologies. It just so happens that I use these most in waterfall. And then certification lingo, very similar to definitions. This webinar is designed to help you in your work. It's not necessarily going to help you with certification, but it will help you with PDUs, right? You do get PDUs for this. So some of those things are out of scope. And one of the first things I'd like to do is just have everybody go down into the chat so I can get an idea of who's out there and where you're from. And just type in where you're from and what your role is. So are you a project manager? Are you a business manager? Are you an executive? If you could just type into the chat and let me know where you're at and what your role is. Okay, good. So I see we have people from Arkansas, Philadelphia, a lot of project managers, which is good. That's what I anticipated. New York, Canada. Oh, Bahamas. Excellent. I'm coming to you today from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where it's really cold. I wish I were in the Bahamas today. That would be great. And looks like we have a lot of people in Canada as well. Perfect. The other thing is I want this to be a dialogue, not a monologue. So as we go through the presentation, if you have questions, just type them into the chat box, and Wendy or I will stop and address them. Paris, France. Nice. All right. So first thing I want to do is just talk a little bit about why IT projects fail, right? If you do a Google search, depending on the search, you will read that, up to anywhere between 75 to 80% of all IT projects fail. And if we are going to assume that we're going to use some of these techniques to get your projects back on track, I would like to spend a little bit of time just talking about why projects fail, especially in your opinion. So one of the things I'd like you to do is, in the chat box, just go ahead and type in some of the reasons that you believe that IT projects fail. And this could be specific to a project that you're working on, or what are some of the reasons you're struggling with the projects that you're working on. Just go ahead. So poor communications, excellent, and lack of communication, lack of sponsor support, poor goals. It's funny, the first three that popped up are three that I hear most often. Scope creep, changing requirements, absolutely changing in objectives, lack of inclusion. Excellent. So just in a few seconds, everybody hit on the items that I hear most. And as I jump to the next slide, you will see that when I do this presentation, when I teach at the local university, and I ask that question, the three most common responses are, oh yeah, I like that one, not using the agile approach. Awesome. But these are the three things I hear the most. Number one, no clarity, right? So we're not sure what the objectives are. The objectives have changed. We're not sure what the scope is. The scope has changed. Scope creep. There's just no clarity. A lot of cases, we're not even sure what we're trying to accomplish. And when I work with teams in government, sometimes some of the people I work with who are running projects aren't even sure if the task they've been assigned is a project or not. So lack of clarity is huge. Number two, poor communication comes up over and over and over again. And then number three, no executive support is another one that comes up. And obviously, you know that if you are struggling in any of these three areas, it's going to make it very, very difficult. And so the methods and the techniques that I'm going to show you today will actually help you in these three areas. It'll help you get some clarity. It'll help you improve communication. And it's also going to help you with executive support. And this is a tough one because I know sometimes you're working on a project where some manager might come to you and want you to spin something up, and you don't have executive support, or you're not in alignment with your organization's strategic objectives, but it seems like a really great idea, and you're trying to figure out how to get support. So some of the things we'll talk about today will help you with that. As many of you know, there's no silver bullet. There's no one way to do this. What I'm sharing with you today are just some of the techniques that I've used over the years. So those are some of the common reasons for failure. And now I'm going to start out at very high level. So what is the method that I'm going to teach you? And first thing that we will do, this is a really simple method. And number one, I'm assuming that you have some kind of a life cycle in your organization, or that you follow a life cycle or a methodology. So the first step with the approach that I use is to try to figure out where your project is in your life cycle. And one of the things I'd like to ask you is, how many of you are currently working in an organization where you have a PMO?
Hi there, I hope you enjoyed that last clip. My name is Michael Maludis, and if you'd like to watch the full 60 minutes of that last webcast, while also getting complete unlimited access to our entire library of IT learning, simply visit our subscribe page at greatpro.org/subscribe. Unlimited annual access is $199 per year, but if you use the coupon code LEARN2EARN, you can drop that membership fee to just $149. That's less than $13 per month for unlimited access to over 1,000 hours of on-demand career development, covering the entire spectrum of IT management best practices, including business analysis and requirements, software development, quality and testing, risk management, process improvement, project management, and even digital transformation. But your membership doesn't just give you unlimited access to our vast learning library. You also get free access to our mobile app, as well as direct access to our network of over 300 of the world's leading IT consultants, all of whom are dedicated to putting practical knowledge at your fingertips so that you can learn more and earn more. I hope you will join me in becoming a member of the Great IT Professional and advancing your career with us. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit that subscribe button above so that you get notified whenever we publish new free webcasts each week of the year. Thank you for your time, and best wishes for your continued success.